Pretty good, pretty good. I want to thank you before we even get started. Thank you so much for taking time out of your personal time to come onto the show live and talk about your wonderful product. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, I was taking a few shots at Microsoft Family because they just don't get it right, like how SmartFeed gets it right. But Linsly, I'm going to turn the mic over to you. I'll decrease while you increase. Tell us your story about SmartFeed.
You bet. Well, Ted, thanks so much for having me on tonight. I'd love the chance to talk to parents about trying to tackle this because I think, you've got a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old. It's 3 years between kids now. It's like 5 generations in terms of how much media and technology is changing and how crazy difficult it is for parents to stay up with that game, even if you are like you are, or like I am, part of the tech industry and you have some background and some knowledge in it. It's still a really tough learning curve to be able to wrap your head around every single device, every kind of parental control unit, every kind of distribution and subscription service, and make sure that the stuff that's getting onto your kid's screen is inspiring stuff. So at SmartFeed, we kind of decided to tackle the problem a little bit differently. And, parental controls matter, and it's important that we educate parents on how to use them on every device and operating system. But even more important, we think, is giving parents a super easy tool to kind of take back their share of voice with kids and the media stories they're hearing and just curate a ton of really cool, inspiring, and good content to kind of outshout the bad stuff. We're really taking more of the approach of all parents want to do the right thing. Parents are super busy. And if we can make it so easy for parents to engage and set up a family account or a kid account one time and just tell us what kind of content they'd love their kids to see whenever screen time makes sense in a family, we want to make it so easy that it's just plug and play, push and download. And then kids have this ocean of really good stuff from which they can choose, make their own decisions. But whatever they do choose, parents know it's going to be something cool. So that's what we're building at SmartFeed.
Okay. I'll get started here because I kind of want folks to visualize because later this week we're going to release a blog on Late Night Parents that talks about SmartFeed and the wonderful work they're doing. The Kickstarter campaign, which is about 12 days shy, we got to make sure we get that money up. But I'm going to say this in your own words. Think Pandora meets Netflix with Facebook for parents and for children, because when you think about curating, you kind of think about a playlist, and it's kind of that's only one piece of it. And I can tell you, hey, I want to give you a hand clap because you did your homework on knowing the kids and the ages and the fact that I do IT. I'm really impressed.
As part of it is letting parents tell us who they are and who their kids are and what they hope is coming into the home. The Pandora analogy for us is a clean one because we can all say, this is the kind of content I like, whether, my kids are 9, 6, and 5. So the stuff I'm bringing in is the Odd Squad, or Monument Valley or Maya and Miguel because I'm trying to teach our kids Spanish. That's our family parameters. But other families, they have different things that are important to them. And we just want to make it so easy so that when you go to Netflix, the movies that are already in your queue are the movies you kind of want your kids to see. I mean, I think every parent knows this pain point where you're sitting there trying to go out on a date night or do something and you want to queue up a movie and your kids are just, right over your shoulder, kind of panting, looking at the screen, asking for every movie that you really don't want them to watch. And it becomes a bad experience instead of just having 20 things that are cool, already loaded and, let them choose. And that's what we're hoping to build on the curation side. The Facebook analogy for us is, we still feel like we're solving this problem, one soccer sideline at a time, or, one classroom pickup at a time. All these parents are out there trying to crack this code, and there's not a real way for them to share learning. Whether you'd say to me, hey, my 13-year-old girl, when she was 9, she really liked the following kinds of apps and games, and I could follow you. And then I'd go, I'm going to follow Ted's family and learn what they're learning. Or I could say, you have a 10-year-old, I've got a 9-year-old. Let's aggregate all the great content for 9-year-old boys and see what they're playing, what games, what TV shows that match my family's parameters. and get that in kind of an aggregated feed, so you don't have to reinvent this question every time you pick up a kid from a play date or you take a kid to an after school event and you try to check in with their families.
That is the important piece right there, because I could see from the printouts that I have, I see the Donelly family content packet, and that's wonderful that, hey, this is that's on display for my children, and the sharing value behind that. Curating is one part, delivering, managing, and connecting is the other piece, which is so important. We see that with social media nowadays. And to tell you the truth, that's kind of how I met you, and the good work that's going on with your company is the connecting piece. So I want to take a step back and say, okay, I'm new to this. Let's just say I didn't have the technology background. And I said, okay, Linsly, I'm interested in this. Walk me through it as a newbie, non-tech parent. What should I look for? Kind of just walk me through those steps real briefly.
You bet. So, we've done a ton of research, a ton, and we feel like it's a ton. You could do a lot more, but we've done a lot of research with parents, and they kind of fall squarely in two camps. There are the parents out there that just say, hey, I got about 5 minutes to solve this problem. I need a quick answer. Whatever you suggest, I'm good to go. And then there are about 50% of the other parents who say, I really care about the following values, following curriculum, and the following interests for my kids. I'm going to get in deep, and I'm going to set all my family dials, by child, and I'm going to customize this profile and make it rock. And we have a solution for both. So if you fall in that first camp and you just say, I just need a shortcut, tell me that you're giving me good stuff for my 10, 8, and 6-year-old. What we do is we work with partners like Common Sense Media or Goodreads or Amazon, and we look at all of the ratings and reviews that are already out there. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. We're just trying to save parents that step of having to read every single ratings or review site to figure out what app, TV show, movie, game, or book to bring into their home. So we aggregate that and make it really easy for parents to tell us in a quick start setup, I've got a child, they're this age, they can take a peek at what we might solve for as values, things like team building or independence or sportsmanship, and say, yep, that looks right. And then SmartFeed goes and fetches all of that content and pulls it together in one family package. The last thing that you would tell us as a family is, what kind of devices are you running, or what kind of subscription services do you have, so that we don't buy or try to fetch a piece of content for you to buy that you can't run. So if you're running on iOS, we just bring in the App Store games. If you're running Netflix and Comcast, we don't serve you everything that's on Amazon streaming because you haven't signed up for that subscription service. We try to filter it by both what your family wants to be able to consume, and then what's super easy for you to go fetch and deliver on your tablets and your smart TVs, or however it is that your kids are consuming content. If you're one of those parents that actually has some time and wants to invest in a deep kind of setting for your family, you can go in and dial it up and say, I'm super interested in physics, and I've got an 8-year-old girl. I think she's reading at a 6th grade level. I want to find content that matches that. And we have all of that tagged in our metadata to be able to serve up the content that matches that kind of customization as well. But the short answer is that parents get to drive the content that comes in, versus what's happening in a lot of homes is parents are kind of just reacting to whatever it is their kids bring in and sort of hoping it's not bad, and kind of holding their breath and hoping that the screen time doesn't go off the rails. It's a losing proposition. Technology is like pen and paper for our generation. You'd want to be able to tell your kids, here's a library of great things to go choose from. We make it easy by setting up your family plan and your family settings. And then we make it easy for you to connect with your network to compare notes. So if you're sending your kid over to a sleepover, you have a really easy vocabulary to say, hey, on SmartFeed, our family dials look like this. We're a PG family. We're kind of okay with this content, not that. And there's a vocabulary for you to connect with other families, as well as to share what's working and what you hope that they all want to consume for media.
That is, Linsly, that is beyond awesome, what you just told me. Just one quick question. If I need to make a change on the fly, and let's just say if I needed to do it through a browser, is it only app specific, or could I do it through a web browser, through a login?
That is such an awesome question, because for us, we built it so that it was OS agnostic. So it's a web browser, a web interface, so that you can, it's responsive code based. You can change and say, it turns out all of a sudden my daughter is not into Legos anymore, which is really into this 3D diagramming. So I need to change that preference. And you can change that, or over time, SmartFeed learns as well. So as you rate and review content you're liking for your daughter or content you're liking for your son, we'll recommend, like all recommendation services do, what we think matches that, and we'll also try to age up as your children's age changes and say, okay, now you're looking at a curriculum that's for a 7th grader or for an 8th grader, no longer for a 4th grader, and try to help you make that change. And then if you want to change it on the fly, it's easy to change your settings in your family profile.
So I got to ask this question now. Who's your main competition out there?
Yeah, that's such a good question, because I think we have 3. I mean, the main competition we have, and I don't mean this to sound demoralizing to parents, but the main competition we have is parents overwhelmed apathy. Just not having time. That's the toughest hurdle, is to make sure we make it so easy that they can just get it and get it done. Beyond that, what we've found is there are a lot of folks who are playing in this space, and they're doing a great job, but they're just doing it at a real niche level. And so we're trying to open up a little bit of a broader network and say, this is not like a proprietary set of content. Whether you're a Leapfrog or you're a Disney and you have really cool content to offer families, this is much broader to say there's all this content that's out there now, and we want to just try to fetch and bring it to you regardless of what the media property is. There's some wonderful nonprofits out there now who are leading the charge. We think Common Sense Media does a fantastic job at this. The interface is just not quite yet family aggregate, family portal friendly, and it doesn't quite yet connect the parents directly to one another. But their editorial content and their ownership of thinking about kids media is, bar none the best out there. Children's Technology Review is another great resource for families. So, a lot of folks who we might say are competitors, we actually think are doing great things, and we just want to get them in front of more parents quickly so that parents are learning from that expertise and fetching great content. Ideally, the end game in 3 years is we've helped parents channel their dollars against really good content, so more of that stuff gets made.
That is excellent. So I'm going to say this. How do we get the word out about SmartFeed? I mean, we got about 12 days left on the Kickstarter. Tell us about it. What if this was your elevator speech and I was, whomever, how do we get this word out?
Yes, definitely. So the main message for parents is, if you care about trying to serve up better media for your kids and connect with them on it and connect with their families and friends who are influencing them on it, SmartFeed is your answer. So go into Kickstarter right now. If you back SmartFeed at any level, we'll give you what we think is the best set of summer recommendations for kids, broken down by content type and by age group, at any level of backing. And then from the $25 level on, you in effect pre-order your subscription. And then, beyond that, we also make sure that backers have a way to support communities in need who we think maybe don't have the resources to buy a great digital curriculum in their school, but the kids there could really benefit from them. Backers can participate at a level to support that as well. So whatever your level of interest is, if you care about getting better media stories in front of kids, then SmartFeed is the tool to help you leverage that interest.
Perfect. I'm going to say this much. I'm going to reach out to Eva because she's done such a wonderful job, so that we have to get something on the site up about it. I'm going to say within the next 48 hours, because it's a really awesome product. I mean, oh my goodness. So if and when, my last question is, what's next after this for you?
Well, so, our first step here with the Kickstarter campaign, and this is such a cool fundraising environment to do this, was to make sure we were connecting with parents who cared. These are the really early adopters who think about kids media and want to help shape the product development, and they'll be right in there with us from day one, seeing the releases as we're working through the product. So that's really our step one. And then once Kickstarter closes, we're very much just in build and deliver mode, where we want to make sure we get this tool in parents' hands as quickly as possible. There are 2 other feature releases that will come after this Kickstarter release, and that is being able to really manage and monitor what your kids are doing on their devices. We think there are great partners out there doing that right now. There are probably 15 different providers who do a great job at that. So ideally, we would work with one of them to connect the SmartFeed curation piece and the SmartFeed parent connection piece to that manage and monitor solution. And so parents would have a full set of options there.
Excellent. Linsly, I want to give you a round of applause because you have a wonderful product here and you've done some great work.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you, Ted. Thanks so much for connecting with us on that. I love that. I'm going to have to play that every day whenever we're working through hard stuff. We'll play that for everybody.
Oh my goodness. Hey, one last thing is, number one, I'll work with Eva and we'll get this carved up, this specific interview carved up. But tell us the best way to get in contact with you about your product. Best way to use social media to get in contact.
You bet. So there are 2 fast ways to me. One is email, Linsly@thesmartfeed.com, and Linsly is Linsly @thesmartfeed.com. Or our Facebook page is a quick way to get right to me as well. Facebook /thesmartfeed.
Gotcha. If there's anything we could do in the future, because this might be the first time that you're coming on, this surely definitely is not the last, because we want to catch up and see the future state, future versions of SmartFeed, wonderful product. And see, it was a less than a 15-minute interview, and I didn't slam Microsoft Family on this one.
Excellent. We can stay in touch, and sending you